So I think as a clinical psychologist for the past 25 years, I think psychology is one of the most beautiful things that the world has received. People actually can go to therapy and receive help and talk about things. I think this is a major breakthrough that Freud provided us with many years ago. There are about 3 areas which I would say that Freud didn't develop, that I think he reached a certain point and we need to continue and develop. One area is that the area that of physical satisfaction and egocentric satisfaction, that a person, his self-growth and his relationships with others is achieved through concentrating within himself. The whole idea of being part of a community, of which I mentioned before, of growing and your self-realization is through giving to the other, is something that is missing in a very tragic way, in my opinion, in psychology. And even though so many people go to therapy, they are still lonely and depressed, and somehow it doesn't manage to raise them to the level of fulfillment that we know a person can achieve by feeling that he is important, that he can give to the other, that he belongs. My father has an amazing story of a soldier who was about to commit suicide and was stopped by his officer. And he said he didn't even need to intervene. My father was the psychologist. It was through this Yom Kippur War. He didn't even have to intervene because the officer naturally said, "How can you even think of doing such a thing? You belong to us. We need you. You're giving to us. You're a Chayal Boded who came, left your country, and we need," and his eyes started shining. I belong to someplace, somebody needs me, and something naturally that officer had, which we see many times happens within Tzahal, within our defense, our army, is that people feel they are important because they give to the other. Now this is something that is crucially missing in our regular Western psychology. This is number 1. Number 2, there is a deterministic side in Western psychology which causes many people are afraid to come many times to therapy because they are going to be labeled with something. They often label themselves as they come in, and I don't join forces with them. And I say, for me, I see you as a person. I don't know what your name is. Labeling you doesn't help me to reach your neshama. And I know that within all the klipot, there is a spark in there. And I am going to reach it. So we are joining the anti-psychiatric group, which started as you know, we were in Berkeley, California. That's where it all started with my father. He was very troubled with this labeling and the psychiatry. And he said, we have a different approach. Where I came from in my family and what I learned in my Hasidic roots, we have a different approach to people. So the whole idea that you can grow and change and you are not labeled. And even though I work with psychiatrists, of course I do, and we can all be helped, and it's an amazing thing that there is medicine. I do not label people. I had an example of a person who brought me his wife and said, please tell her she's obsessive compulsive. You need to tell her, she'll listen to you. And I fought him. Even though he was big and strong, I said, if you want me to really help her, I am going to work with her in a different way. And I'm going to build a relationship with her of respect. I'm not going to call her names. I'm not going to close her in there. And even though she absolutely behaved like an obsessive-compulsive person, and everything kosher and everything to do with nida was totally obsessive, but I did not look at her in that way. And I realized that she's doing this from a different place. And we built a relationship. We spoke to each other. It was mutual. I do not know more than her, just because I'm a therapist or I've studied for many years. She knows her own soul, and I respect that. And I contract myself. And the people feel it. When they walk into the room, they feel that I'm not the one that has the knowledge and I'm going to label them, but that I trust them, that they know how to help themselves, and I bring that out of them. And that is a different approach. I have many patients who have been to טיפול before, and they said, I had nice therapists, but I didn't feel that I made that change, and now I feel I am growing. And I have what to give. And at the end, we become friends. We become absolutely, we call it צמצום בין אישי. You know, we make a dialogue between us. We're two people. Okay, I wanted to say the last one, but you want to ask me about this. And the last area, I think that is the second area of determinism. And we are joining, like I said, the anti-psychiatric from that point of view, even though we think that it's amazing that there's medicine, and I work with many psychiatrists, and that's very helpful, but my approach is not to label my patients. And I think they feel that, and they know how much I see their light, and we believe that in the bottom, the person is good. This is Rav Kook speaking now. That every person, בסופו של דבר, he wants to give to the other and wants to do good in the world. Now this is not something that is in psychology. Many people come and they're afraid that what's going to come out at the end is their jealous side, their anger, their fears, and they don't have that belief that what's going to come out at the end of the day is that you are a beautiful person with your sparks, and the third area is the area of spirituality. In psychology, Western psychology, many things are very rational. We need control, we need to analyze, we need to understand everything, because we live in a chaotic world, which it's very understandable, fear of death, fear of many things, and this is what psychoanalysis is. It's analyzing the psycho. And we appreciate that. That's the pshat. But we say there are many other levels. There is remez and drash and sod. And we give space to that. And if somebody speaks to me in a spiritual language, I don't think he's psychotic. And I don't right away say he hears voices that, okay, we know what a bat kol is. We have examples of our wonderful rabbis who have heard voices, and we're not scared of that. So we make space for the sod within the therapeutic setting, okay? And we say spirituality is legitimate and it has room. I think these are the three areas. The tzimtzum attitude, which I don't know more than my patient. I'm not going to label him. I know he has a beautiful spark in there, and I'm going to help him find it if he wants to. I'm not a magician, but I am there to join in with him in a dialogue, and I make space for the spirituality that is missing in our world. I think those are the three areas.